Let's go.
Wow.
Oh, hey, we want the Nets. We said we wanted the Nets. We got the Nets.
Yeah, cakewalk.
What
It
a
is
game.
It is a hard hat series right now.
This is a hard hat series. I got the hard hat on. I came to work today. The Celtics came to work. They took a little break in the fourth quarter. But, man, they executed at the very literal last second that they needed to execute. All-time moment. Just one of the all-time moments in Celtics franchise history. A game we'll be talking about literally forever. Jason Tatum gets a great look under the rim. Kyrie Irving has no chance to stop that locomotive with a nice little spin move. And wow, I'll be honest, I had some deep, dark thoughts.
Dark.
A very dark place. I don't think I'm alone in that, but man, that's a season saving. I mean, to say the least. That was the series right there. If you lose that game, you lose the series. If you're the Celtics.
I'm not sure, but man, like I said, yeah. You know, let's
deep breaths. Let me exhale. Let me just exhale.
Again,
by the way, I had to sit here and wait for you idiots for like 10 minutes.
Okay, so this idiot
screaming at the top of my lungs to nobody.
This idiot was watching the game as a fan in a box, waiting, running home, and I left early, and I missed that for this show, which is fine because that's what we do. But we got the guys at the Garden right now. Where are they?
We got the guys at the Garden allegedly. I think they're still up in the balcony. I think I got to look at Bobby. He's still up there, just like what a play.
Yeah. So
we have a lot to unpack.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll start.
Lots to unpack. Yeah, let's get where this is. You know, and as you said, you go to a dark place there because the fourth quarter. Oh my God, you know, and 12-point lead, and they could the end of the third was brilliant. Tatum blocks Durant, Tatum hits a three, they go up 12, terrific. Then wheels come off, fourth quarter Celtics, here we friggin' go again. 107-102, and it's just looking bleak. And it was all that stuff we'd seen, the ISO, blah, blah, Tatum getting trapped, just not getting good looks, not getting the stops, and then just the very, very end, clamping down on the Nets, clamping down on Kyrie, and then a quarter where they showed almost no poise and composure until the very end. For that play, oh my God, for that play to be able to have the wherewithal to swing it and to get it, and for Tatum to move, and not just Tatum to catch it, but Tatum to catch it and realize he had a second to spin. That's just legendary stuff. And Nick Gelso, our CEO and our founder, very aptly made the DJ to Bird comparison, and that's very much it.
Of course he did.
But the reson that's apt in my
this era's version of that for sure.
But the reason that's apt in my opinion is that that steal by Bird, the thing that's not made out of it is just how difficult that was to recognize. I've got a second. I've got to make a pass to see the cutter there to make that pass, and for Bird and for DJ to finish that. Same thing here is, you'd figure one of those guys would be like, there's 2 seconds left. I got to jack this thing. It's in my hands. But no, just to wait that out. And then Tatum to have the wherewithal to cut and boom. And just to see Kyrie sitting there when Tatum spins wah, was just.
He's like, and in that moment, I knew I was completely screwed. After all Kyrie Irving did, I'll be honest, we're talking about dark places. Of all things, of all players, it's Kyrie Irving who just puts the team on his back and just goes unconscious in that second half, the fourth quarter. It was really, this is actually happening. And credit to Kyrie. I don't want to turn this into a praise Kyrie show, but you cannot, you can hate the personality all you want, but in terms of skill and talent, my God, he can be the best player on the court at any given time. And that was kind of, John, I mean, I don't want to toot your horn, but that was the fear. That was your fear. That's what kept you up at night.
A lot of everything that I feared happened, but they got the win. So great. This is a survive series. It's survive advance and get Rob back. This is a conference finals level matchup. People who are like, bring on the Nets, you're insane people, okay? It's a really, really, really tough matchup. It's going to take everything the Celtics have. They can definitely play better than this, but Brooklyn can play a little bit better than this too. It's not like, this is hard. This is hard. Those guys are there all the time. And again, Kyrie with that 3 in Jalen's eye and the finger to the fans. I mean, the guy's a one-man show if he wants to be. And then you got Durant too, Yeah,
the finger to the fans just made it. That was like the chef's kiss. If you're a fan and you get an opposing player to give you the finger, like, you did your job, buddy. Like, you did what you had to do to get, and to Kyrie's credit, it didn't affect him negatively on the court at all. So that's kind of like the other side of it. Some of these players, they rise to the occasion. It's the whole, like, they don't boo nobodies. That's the famous quote. So credit all around. But listen, one of the things that we've been concerned about the Celtics team is ability to execute when it matters most. Down the stretch, crunch time. They have not been a good crunch time team this season. A lot of their wins have been, credit to them, blowouts. But when it comes down to executing, there's been a lot of games where they've come out on the wrong end of it. And tonight, it felt like that for, 11 minutes and 59 seconds. Like, it felt like they were floundering. It felt like, and I remember Doc Rivers saying, like, back when he was coaching the Celtics, his team would get into a situation where they were waiting for the opponent to come back and take the lead. And it kind of felt like it got to the point where the Celtics were almost waiting for it to happen. And then once it happened, I hope Ime was like, all right, guys, they now have the lead. Like, can we go back? Can we play basketball? Can we play our style? Can we stop worrying about them taking the lead? Because they have the lead now. Like, let's go back to what got us 15-point lead to begin with. Let's go back to executing to some extent. It was not a game where it was full of execution by any stretch. But there were stretches in that second half, I thought, where there was Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown at points. I thought Jason Tatum did a lot of things away from scoring, even though he did end up with however many points he ended up, close to 30 or whatever. But man, that fourth quarter, that's the type of a quarter that takes lives off you. If you're a fan, if you're organization member in some capacity, you're just begging for some sign of life, some form of execution. And man, when the Celtics came down, when I think it was Jaylen Brown coming down the right side, they had a timeout. I'm sure there were people screaming, call a timeout, draw something up. You don't want to just have this, the way things were going, it felt like they should have taken a timeout because it was like running around with a head cut off out there. But credit to them, man. I mean, Tatum made the right move, cutting to the hoop. Was it Smart who made the pump fake there? And just a freaking hell of a play. And again, series saving win. I know you might disagree, but I think if the Celtics lose this game in the way they did, it's just very difficult for them.
I'm not
very difficult one to come back from.
Like I said, I think until other players return,
they're coming in so hot right
now. Until other players return, I really think and have thought from the get-go, this is a straight up coin flip series. And then again, like we said,
this wouldn't change your mind. It would not change your mind.
So many of my fears were what happened, but the best part about all of this, it was the Celtics who executed late and Brooklyn who crapped on themselves, which is incredible considering the way the fourth was going. So that's a massive shift there. And you're right. Brooklyn walks out of here. Put it this way. I don't think the Celtics would have been buried if they lost. What I do think is, Brooklyn's going to be a little bummed that they let this one get away because it was right freaking there. And you could see the Celtics coming back in game 2 with a good bit more composure and not allowing themselves to get in this position because they had a couple opportunities. They're up 15 in the third or whatever that was. And are you putting comments up, Jimmy?
Yeah, I told you I was.
Oh, gotcha. I got it.
It's a two-man game right now.
I thought it was Ahmed. I thought okay, good. And then up 12 to end the third there. And again, I just felt like they were this close and they let it get away. You wonder if the next game they are able to step on their throats there a little bit and stretch it out. Let me just ask you real quick. Do you think Kyrie, who was awesome, do you think Kyrie let his emotions get the best of him?
No.
Late in that, no, not emotions. Do you think he let all of it get to him to the point that he had the type of possession that he had right there, right before the Celtics right before Tatum's bucket. The dribble allowed himself to get trapped, dribble, allowed himself to get trapped in a double team, had to dish it late to Durant, who had to take a contested shot. Like, that felt like Kyrie wanted to end this and wanted to end Boston. And Jimmy, let me take over the comments here because I'm going to throw some lower thirds in as well.
Yeah, please do.
Do you think he kind of was like, give it to me, it's mine?
I don't know. I kind of feel like who wouldn't want him? Who wouldn't want him?
Like, was that hero ball right there? I'm saying, like, did he?
I mean, if you want to say that, maybe to some extent, but with the way he was playing, like, you kind of expect hero ball in that situation. And credit to the Celtics, they knew he was getting the ball and they knew he was going to do everything he could to take it. Now, he got the ball to Durant a little bit too late. I'm not gonna say that Kyrie wanted to be the hero to the point where he, was ignoring all the other options. But I think that it was pretty obvious that he was the best player on the court in that quarter. And I think the Nets wanted him to, if he could get any semblance of a clean look, they wanted him to take it. So, yeah, did the moment probably culminate right around that point to him? Yeah, but to his credit, I mean, he was taking it all game. I mean, I don't think that anything happened from, some point in the fourth quarter that made it a negative for him to change like his attack mode. I'll give the Celtics credit for just shutting it, finally being able to stop him. Like they bent until they could not bend literally anymore. They made the stop and they actually, sealed the deal on the other end, So
I'm just the way that went down.
I see what you're saying for sure. I'm going to give Kyrie credit for the way he showed up tonight. Durant's the guy that, has some explaining to do, not Kyrie, if you're asking me.
It's not. I just mean I'm only looking at the very, very end. Durant certainly did not have a great game. I was amazed how much they were able to really mess with him. And some stuff he's just going to hit because he's friggin' Kevin Durant. But I mean, right at the end of the third quarter, Tatum just man up on him and blocking one of those pull-ups. You never see that happen. So Durant was bad. I mean, as bad as you're going to see him in the series. And yeah, right. Irving was cooking. So yeah, the ball was going to go to him. Just the fact that he wouldn't give it up there,
Yeah, no, I hear you. But Durant playing the way he did, this was another reason why you absolutely needed to take this game, because you just can't expect to have those performances night in, night out. So, man, this was a big one for them. This was the biggest game of every single player on that Celtics team. Had to be the biggest game of their careers tonight.
Yeah, I mean, again,
unless I'm forgetting something, but
I mean, look, they had a game 7 to get to a conference finals.
They lost. But I'm saying in terms of the way it ended, the terms of how they're feeling coming off the court, I can't imagine too many better feelings than these guys have right now.
This has to feel good because of
just the roller coaster of emotions, the week leading up, people doubting them.
But also just they know this is a thing. They know fourth quarter Celtics is a thing. They know poor execution is a thing. They know that they have struggled here.
Right, right. Of course. And we've all known that.
And so if they puked this one away, gave up a fourth quarter lead and lost, I do wonder morale-wise what would have happened there. Would they have tightened up? Would they have gotten really pissed at themselves and turned it around? I hate speaking in generalities and platitudes, like it was a big one, momentum and this and that, but it matters. You do wonder what their mentality would have been like if they lost here. But it took everything they had. It took everything. Horford was a monster in the first half. Smart was a monster in the second half. Brown, whatever, somewhat inconsistent, but Brown, they needed every single thing that Brown gave them. And then obviously, Tatum being Tatum. I'm not going to get into the concerns here because
not yet.
But the Tice is a bit of a concern. So again, it's like, hurry back, Rob. I'm sitting here looking at him on the sideline, and I'm like watching him every time he gets up out of his chair. I was like, he looks pretty good. He looks all right. I'm like, please hurry. So,
but John, going back to your point real quick on if what their mentality would have been had they lost this game, knowing what they know about themselves leading up to a game like this, with knowing what people think about how they don't execute maybe down the stretch. But how about this? Seeing them execute to the point where they did get the win, seeing the ball go in at the buzzer. What does that do for them now? Like, what does that do for their mentality? How does that sort of, I think momentum might be a little bit overrated from game to game. I believe it to be very true during a game for sure. But I still think that in the playoffs, if you can carry that, that feeling with you for the next couple of days here, you've got some good mojo going into game 2. You've seen, a lot of what the Nets, tried to do to you today. You know what your strengths and weaknesses are. You know what you can improve on. And there's plenty of things. Don't get me wrong. This was by far, far, far from a perfect game. But just seeing the way it ended, getting the win, sort of getting that monkey off your back that people are, this would have been, John, if they blew this game, if they lost this game, what's everybody talking about tomorrow and the rest of today? How they're not ready for the limelight. They don't have closers. The veterans have been there, done that, and Tatum and Durant and Kyrie, and they were outclassed down the stretch, and this one's going to be over in 6 for the Nets. But the fact that they were able to pull this off makes me feel a hell of a lot better about their mentality going into the rest of the series. That's kind of where I'm at with it. And again, Tatum had a really slow start to this game offensively. I know that he had like 7 assists.
Tatum and Brown in the first half. In the first quarter, virtually nothing out of those guys. And that's, that was rough.
Did you freeze for just me or for everybody?
I froze.
Okay, cool. You look great. I'm just making sure that it wasn't just me.
My camera got unplugged. Hold on.
Oh, perfect. Great. I think I'm going to bring Sherrod in if that's cool. There he is.
Hey, guys.
What's good, bro?
Oh my goodness.
Hey, just a casual game today at the TD Garden.
You know what, man? This was awesome. I felt good about this one. Look, when the game was kind of up in the air in the fourth quarter, I still felt good about this game because
really can't hear you, John. Can't hear John. Sorry. I can't hear John, but go on, Sherrod.
You can hear me? Okay. Yeah, I'm all that matters, right, Jimmy? Hey,
sure.
Jimmy, what's up with the hard hat? You probably explained it already, but what's up with the hard hat?
This is the playoff hard hat. OG Garden Report people remember it from, I think, the first season we did it. But listen, it's about coming to work, putting the hard hat on, grinding it out. It's a grind it out series. Lunch pail, hard hat, bring it to work. And when they win, they deserve the hard hat. This kind of like you can expect to see this the rest of the playoffs.
You know what I loved about this game, though? Kyrie was amazing. And the idea that he can play at this level for another 3, 4, 5 games, I don't think is real. The Celtics, I think what they came into this game thinking was, look, Kyrie's going to get his points. We get that. But we're not going to let Durant get comfortable because Durant can beat us by himself. They don't believe Kyrie can beat them by himself.
Right.
That's to me.
You almost did, though.
You got to pick your poison with those two guys. One of them is going to go off every game. And the Celtics clearly in their mind believe that if Kyrie goes off, we still have a pretty good shot of winning. If Durant goes off, not so much. But again, this was a great game, though. I mean, both.
Sherrod,
I thought, what's up?
That's kind of why I thought they needed to pull this one off because you got a bad Durant. All things considered, what he's capable.
Can you hear me, Jimmy?
Unfortunately, yes, we can now hear you.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. Sherrod, what do you think? What do you think about this being kind of like the way it was shaping up? I felt like this needed to be a must-win. Like if they lost this one with the lead they had, with the way Durant was playing, if they let this one slip away, I just don't know. I don't know how they recover from something like that. Really, I
don't think you're being overly dramatic for once, which is different because you usually are. But I do think this was a big win for them. And I do like the fact that it came down to the wire because remember, during the regular season, the Celtics struggled in games like this that were decided in the last minute or last few seconds. It has not been their forte. So for them to have a game like this where Kyrie has a huge game, that bench for Brooklyn, I don't think people realize how good they were tonight. First half, their bench was 8 for 10 shooting. And I don't know what the final numbers are, but they were really, really good.
Yeah, really that was the thing. It's again, and I agree 100% sure. I think that's overlooked a little. I know they haven't been great, but like this notion that Brooklyn is just 2 guys, like, yes, sort of. Like they're 2 guys. Drummond is serviceable there in the middle. They've gotten good efforts out of Bruce Brown. Obviously, Curry is a shooter. You have roles, but like, Claxton is athletic. He had a lot of putbacks there. When you don't have an interior
guys, John. They're like 2.5 guys.
That hurts you. What I'm saying is you have Patty. He can knock down. Dragic can knock down shots. They haven't been great, but like the Celtics bench is White, Grant, and Pritchard. It's not like they're world beaters. So like it's not a huge without Rob here. And when you have Tice thrust into the starting lineup, the rosters are pretty similar. 2 stars. I mean, Horford and Smart are going to make way bigger contributions than anybody else in the Nets starting lineup. No question about that.
The thing about it, John, is that I thought pretty much other than Kevin Durant, I thought everyone on Brooklyn's team played as good as they're going to play. And so if that's the case,
I think that's fair.
If you can beat them when pretty much everyone except Kevin Durant is playing at their best or damn near close to it, and you're looking at your roster, Grant Williams didn't have a good game. I didn't think Derek White had a good game. Pritchard, he wasn't bad, didn't suck, but he wasn't great. And again, most of your role players were average at best, and yet you still found a way to win. To me, this is much more of a confidence-boosting win for the Celtics than I think it is for Brooklyn. Because if you're Brooklyn, you're going to go back and look at the film and realize, damn, we did a lot of good things. Our defense didn't totally suck. We got contributions from our bench, and we still couldn't seal the deal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you mostly, Sherrod. I thought Brown on Brooklyn didn't have a great game. I think maybe he.
I don't think.
Talking.
I'm not to cut you off, Jimmy, but I think Bruce Brown, this is pretty much how it's going to be for him most of the series. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to make a significant impact.
Right. Well, then, yeah. I mean, but I would say throughout the course of the season, he's had more of an impact than he had tonight. I guess that's
I just can't believe. It's
Claxton, Dragic. I mean, really, we're going to think like Dragic's.
No, we're not. All I'm saying is like I do think I'm not worried about those guys. All I'm saying is the Celtics don't have a bench that's scaring people either. So it is close to a wash there, but your starting lineup has to crap. If the Celtics didn't miss, how many layups did the Celtics miss here? Too many. I would agree with Sherrod in the sense that like, I don't think it's the Nets' best punch, but it's not that far because outside of Durant, that's about it. And I don't disagree there because Dragic has been in friggin' mothballs. He hasn't done anything for them.
Right.
So, I mean, this is whatever. So that's that. But I mean, look, you got a 2015 game from Al. You had Marcus Smart knocking down threes left and right. Celtics certainly got big performances out of people too. But, I do wonder how much more Brooklyn has I do wonder how much more Brooklyn has that they can offer here that's going to make it, tougher because Brooklyn,
right. And plus,
and they don't play defense.
Right. I don't know how much you guys talked about Tatum already, but I mean, his game plan was brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, first half, he's trying to get confidence in his other guys to get going, and that helped Al. I thought it helped, Marcus a little bit. And then as the game progressed, he became much more assertive offensively. I think at one point in the broadcast where he had made a field goal, they were complaining about him not going to the cup. And like literally seconds later, he finishes at the rim. It's like Tatum is figuring out the cheat code on how to become a great player. And we're watching it in real time. And again, I thought he had just an absolutely brilliant game. The way he was attacking offensively. I thought defensively, he had too many breakdowns. I thought this was not a great defensive game for Tatum. Because, I mean, some of those drives that Kyrie Irving had to the basket when Tatum was guarding him is inexcusable. I mean, it's as if Tatum thought that Rob was back there. Because if Rob was back there, that's different. Maybe he was having some flashbacks, but he's got to be better defensively, particularly when he's matched up against Kyrie. But overall, I thought they did a great job. And at the very end, when they blitzed Kyrie to make sure he couldn't get that last shot off, again, the Celtics, from a coaching standpoint, from their best player standpoint, I thought they had the better game. And like we were talking about earlier, I don't know how much more Brooklyn can do other than Kevin Durant having a better game. But you got to believe if he plays better, you're probably not going to get the level of contributions from that bench.
You're not going to get 39 from Kyrie probably either if Durant's playing, shooting a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say, and Tatum was great, but a little in that fourth, they got to him with some of those doubles, was a little slow passing out when they went dead stagnant there. Again, Celtics just, if they stay with what they're doing and move it, they'll get their shots against these guys, and they have to attack aggressively. I do think the only knock I'll have is, I think sometimes when you have a defender on you that you think has no business guarding you, you get eyes like this, and then you're like, I'm just gonna. But that requires a little bit of dribbling and a little bit of setup and all of that stuff. And I do think they kind of got into that a little bit. And Brooklyn clearly in the second half was like, I'm going to double the crap out of this guy. And they were just, but you could see those guys waiting. He's just got to pass out of that quick and relocate and just keep it moving, because they'll get whatever they want. Someone else will get it. Someone else will get a good look. You'll get it in a better place. Don't fall into those hero ball traps. You watch another guy on their side do it, and then you're like, give it to me. Avoid that at all costs. If they do that, they're fine. That's the stuff you don't want to see them fall into.
Yeah, I didn't think they were as aggressive as they needed to be off the ball. When Tatum had the ball, like Tatum, he's getting blitzed, and you should be aggressively trying to get to the ball so he can get you the ball. I didn't think they did a good enough job with that for the most part. But again, game one, they haven't played in damn near a week, and you got the win. That's all you want at this point. It's just stacking wins. That's it.
That's entirely it.
I want to say a few things. One, the way Brooklyn came out was so damn sloppy, and the Celtics had every opportunity to really take a healthy lead, and they just couldn't. They just couldn't cash in on some of those turnovers. I mean, credit to their
like 7 in the first quarter, something like that. Yeah.
Celtics defense was great, like on-ball defense, poking the ball away, getting steals, but they just couldn't convert on the other end. Kept Brooklyn alive in that first, there was a 1-point game in the end of one, and it was tied at halftime. So you really didn't cash in on those extra possessions that you had. That third quarter was a different story. Marcus Smart came alive. I really want to talk about Marcus Smart, and I really want to talk about Al Horford. Those two guys.
You guys haven't talked about Marcus Smart yet?
We've talked a little bit about everything. I mean, look, at the end of the day,
all over the place. Sherrod,
all over the place. You could give a Brownie report to Al, Brownie award to Al for the first half performance, Smart for the second half, Tatum for the overall, Brown for his defense late. Right. Jaylen Brown, this is one of Jaylen Brown's better defensive games, would you say?
I would agree.
And that was enormous. So like I could give Brown the Brownie just for the defense alone, So I mean,
honestly, that's a type of team.
Their four best players played big,
right. Right. And that's what's gonna take them to that next level, because they don't have, they're not as top heavy as they need to be. So they need to spread out that wealth the way they did tonight. So Al Horford, to me, I mean, he probably gets my Brownie award, edging it over Smart, just because he came out hot right off the bat in the first quarter, hit a couple threes. He was all over the place on the boards, and he definitely took some offense to what Bruce Brown said.
You could tell. Yes.
Al Horford, throw some respect on my man Al Horford's name, Bruce Brown. Damn.
Bruce
Brown didn't know what he was. He's getting some daggers.
This was like Al 5 years ago.
Right.
Tonight. And you could tell that Al had a different kind of edge about him from the outset. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind, as much as Al tried to downplay what Bruce Brown said, he was pissed. He was so
He's got pride.
Hi, Josue. Hi, buddy.
What's going on, fellas?
What's up, Josue?
Keep going, Sherrod. You're spitting fire right now, man.
No, I'm just saying. I mean,
I couldn't tell if Josue was ready. He was kind of looking at himself. He's like,
I know. I mean, it's only been 8 minutes, but
I've been staring at you with the camera shooting up your nose. I didn't know if you were ready.
Josue, jump in here, man. We haven't heard from you yet.
That means he's not ready, but
no, man. I love exactly what you said. Well, this is about 6 minutes ago, but I love what you said about the fourth quarter execution, because I was thinking the same thing, Sherrod. I'm like, man, here we go again. Are they going to go back to hero ball? Are they going to be able to come up with these stops? I thought what they did against Durant was effective, but they were letting Kyrie go and dance all over the court, and that's exactly what he was doing. Those back-to-back three-pointers got them back into it, and he kept hitting harder shots down the stretch. However, I don't know, guys. Between Al Horford and Marcus Smart, look, I know Tatum got the game winner, but one of them had to get the Brownie award, because look,
I got to give it to
Marcus Smart to have the I think I'm with you, John. To have the patience, right, to not only dribble through defenders, to not only give up the open look, but to have just enough time to make that pass to Jason Tatum. Now, listen, a lot of this, down the stretch, concerns for the Celtics has been a pattern. So obviously, there's a reason for me to be concerned, but I think when you look at the execution-wise, obviously it was stellar. But at the same time, on the other end, I feel like Kevin Durant, he slipped up. And that's the Celtics' fault. And I'll tell you why. All these double teams, he just looked rattled offensively. And then on the defensive end, he had a big mistake. He just let Tatum roll right past. If you guys watch the replay, man, he lost Tatum on that one. Completely lost him. Give Tatum the props for making the play. Give Marcus Smart, props for obviously having the patience to not only give up the shot, but to make the right pass. But also, you got to give the Celtics credit defensively for rattling Kevin Durant the way they did in that fourth quarter. He was right.
But Josue, I'm telling you now, though, Kevin Durant was thinking what I think 95.7% of Celtics fans were thinking when Marcus Smart had the ball and the double team was coming. He's going to take a bad shot. Instead, he split the double team, found the open man cutting to the basket for the game winner. And to me, that was we've been trying to talk about how Marcus Smart is such a better playmaker and things like that. That was just – I mean, again, I don't know whether it was just Marcus Smart making a, no pun intended, smart play or whether it was just luck. I don't know. But the bottom line
incredible.
Is he got it done when it mattered most.
Yeah, but Sherrod, 3 months ago, he takes that shot. Come on. He definitely takes that shot.
I don't even know 3 months.
I think most people take that shot simply because they look at the clock.
Listen, that was a shot that we would be pulling our hair out last season or previous seasons, and Marcus Smart takes, and whether or not he makes it.
Give him credit, man. That was such
especially after the third quarter that he had. Especially after that third quarter. He was red hot. You would expect him to take that shot 9 times out of 10 3 months ago.
He's thinking like a point guard now. And it took a little bit to his, which is fair because he wasn't a true point guard. Now he's playing like more of a point guard than ever before. And that was a point guard play. That was an unbelievable look. Perfect timing. Jason Tatum, heady play to cut to the hoop. He had Kyrie down there. Kyrie was just, what is Kyrie going to do at that point? He's got Tatum coming down in full steam ahead. And
as soon as Tatum spun, Kyrie's face.
Like,
As soon as he spun, Kyrie's like, that's the game.
But not only is Kyrie catching the L, but he's also
great
pocketbook too. Put a little middle finger salute to the fans in the third.
He's getting 2 of those, Sherrod. Okay, you guys see the video after halftime?
No.
He told someone to let's just say he asked for a favor.
Malaysia.
You shouldn't be asking fans after what was it? Kyrie, you suck. I think was the initial comment.
Kyrie's
retort was something very explicit and somewhat sexual. So I'm not gonna say.
He's been known to say that. He has said that before, actually.
That's his thing. That's his go-to.
Just watch it. Imagine what we would be saying, by the way, if given like what the Celtics struggles and inconsistencies earlier in the year. Imagine what we'd be saying if Tatum or Brown fell asleep on a cutter with the game on the line like Durant did on that one with Tatum. My God. And you're right. Kyrie's just there. Like, what am I supposed to do at this point? There was nothing he could do. I mean, maybe he could have fouled the crap out of him. Oh, Josue, the lights.
Damn it. If it's not Brock, then it's TD.
But Durant Durant's completely out of the play there. I mean, he completely fell asleep, and he's looking at it like one of these guys is going to shoot here. That's horrible by him.
Wouldn't be surprised if KD in his post-game comments puts a lot of the blame on himself. And understandably so. I mean, he had a very atypical Kevin Durant kind of game. And I'm not talking about just the fact that he was 9 for 24 and he had 6 turnovers. I'm talking about just impact. He was just not there. I mean, 5 points in the fourth quarter in a game where your team was right there on the cusp of stealing a win. Not great.
I was going to say the same thing about Jalen, but he came through. Look, Jalen needed to be assertive in that fourth quarter. When they were, 0 for 5 to start, 0 for 7 from the floor in the fourth quarter, I'm like, again, here we go again. But Jalen, he took the cue. And this is something that was brought up during Ime's presser, that he did have a conversation with him during the timeout saying, look, you got to be more assertive, and especially because he hits the big three, he hits the big take to the rim. It was a 2-possession game for quite a bit in favor of the Brooklyn Nets, but the Celtics, they pulled through, man. They kept their composure for sure. I'm very impressed. Impressed.
And they did. I thought they did this will be my last point, John. I thought they did a good job of recognizing when Brooklyn was, sleep at the wheel defensively. I mean, a couple of those drives that Jalen had, I mean, that shouldn't happen even in AAU ball, where there's literally the guy that's supposed to protect the rim is just like, he's just chilling out there, and Jalen is like, there's no one back there. Kyrie can't guard me one-on-one. I'm just going to blow past him and get the layup. And he's got 4 fouls, so I know he's not going to foul me.
Yeah, flashback of those practice sessions. It's like, oh, this is all day and tomorrow. You going to give me that much space? I'm out. All right. See you later.
Do you guys think that our very own Nick Gelso had anything to do with Kevin Durant's Game 1 performance? Do you think maybe?
Clearly.
No. I'm not going to give Nick that credit. I love Nick.
John sarcastic clearly is the best way.
I love Nick. That's my dog.
Gelso won, Durant 0 maybe to start off this series. So
it was almost the other way though. You almost inspired.
It was right. Very close.
Well,
but
you notice every time Kevin Durant complained about a call or non-call, he scored like the next possession. There were two moments in the game where he was bitching about not getting a call, and he literally scored the next possession. So I'm not going to give Nick any credit. Nope.
Oh, come on.
Nope. But Nick, if you're talking offline, we can have a different conversation. But right now, nope, no credit for you.
Don't make it sound like that was calculated by Nick. That was just Nick on a Sunday morning. Like, come on.
Yeah, he just added some time. That's all that was.
But Nick just put the bait out there, and Kevin bit.
He just had some time.
He bit.
He bit hard.
All right, Nick, we need you to.
And 2 days later, he's like, wait a minute, these two men actually played each other in the playoffs. Oh, even better. All right, cool.
Yeah, Nick, we need you to go at Kyrie. But
respectfully, please.
Respectfully, please.
Yeah.
Keep it respectful. Sherrod, what do you have to say to all the people who thought the Brooklyn matchup would be easy?
You're wrong.
Wait. Sherrod is that person. Sherrod
Are we stressed?
Is that person.
Yeah.
Sherrod
Are we stressed?
What do you mean?
Jimmy, just because they're going to win it in 5 or 6 games doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I think all the games are going to be knockout dragons. I just think Boston is going to win those games.
Win more of them?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
I don't believe this thing is going to go 7. I didn't believe this thing would go 7 from the beginning, and there's nothing that I've seen so far that makes me believe this thing will go 7. It's 5 or 6 games. Can't see it going more than 5 or 6 games.
Dude, it could easily go 7. I mean, the game literally ended in the last second. It could easily go 7 too.
It ended in the last second with Brooklyn damn near 7 of their 8 rotation guys having the freaking playoff game of their lives.
Right, so let's again.
This is giving me like construction site vibes right now. Like the manager and the employee. Like, yo, no, but if you did this,
all right. Well, so let's.
Sherrod's the manager. Like, just listen to me. All right. This is what
Damn it, Jimmy, listen to me. This is not homeschool. Listen to me.
I'm hanging from a crane and being like, I don't think I should be over here.
Yeah. Bobby, people asking where Bobby is. Bobby's in there doing some interviews. So we'll come back around and we'll keep talking about this game. Just other things that you saw tonight, guys watching this one. And I mentioned this earlier. We texted about it on the thread. We'll see how it goes. You're tinkering with lineups here. Tice worries me a little there because they hunted him on a lot of switches, and if KD had a slightly better game, that could have been a problem all night. Not only that, the refs just aren't going to give him a generous whistle. So this dude's going to have 4 or 5 fouls on him, in the first 15 minutes of action every single game that he plays. Yeah. But I mean, there was one series there where the Nets went at him like 12 straight possessions, just switch, boom on Tice, switch, boom on Tice. I get it. I mean, Celtics do this type of stuff too. What do you do? What do you do about that? Do you think this is more of a Grant series than a Tice series?
It certainly wasn't a Grant game. I mean, I thought Grant was as big a non-factor as I've seen him in a long time.
Bobby thought he was, let me look at my text. The word phenomenal. Bobby used the word phenomenal to talk about.
No, not on Tice.
Hell no. He was getting, listen,
not Tice,
Grant
Grant.
That was consistently getting filleted out there. He was that guy. Grant is a better player than what we saw in game 1. He will play better going forward. This was not a shining moment for Grant Williams. No, when you look at the Grant Williams highlight reel for this season, this game will not be part of that. In fact, if you were to put together a low-light reel, this will be prominently displayed. He did not have a good game shooting the ball. He did not make the most of opportunities to knock down big shots, even though he was open. And defensively, I thought he had problems, not just with Kevin Durant, but pretty much anyone he got switched out onto. Grant's going to be better in this series. And if you're the Boston Celtics, that's why this is such a really good win, because you had key guys in your rotation who did not play particularly well, and you still found a way to get the win.
Yeah.
No, Grant Williams was not good tonight. No, hell no.
He had a couple moments. I mean, the one drive that he had a take on Durant that he finished at the rim. That was pretty nice. But I thought Grant was maybe a little too fired up for this one. I mean, he had like a transition 3 pull up And I was like,
I
bro,
thought he was all right on. I thought he was all right on defense.
I thought Ime was gonna lose it on him. He's like,
that ain't it. That ain't it, man.
But I mean,
relax.
So we talk about like. But we talk about like, the Rob thing, which again, his absence freaks me out because I've said from the get-go, I think he's the second most important player. You could debate that, whatever, but I think he's the second most important player on the team. You can make an argument these days for Smart too, and I'm putting them both ahead of Jalen, not because they're better than him, but I just think they need what those guys bring to the game to be different. They're massive difference makers. Smart is also in that conversation. But
Smart and Jalen.
Rob, I'm starting to the whole thing is about Rob, but with Rob out, holy crap, is Horford super important here. And I thank goodness they've got 3 days. And again, this could work out great if Rob does find his way back in game 4 or 5 or whatever they're talking about, because you do have 3 days off between games 1, 2, and 3, because they're going to have to play Horford 38, 39 minutes because the other guys aren't doing it. And they worry me there. And Horford, it was a beast, and he's, absolutely vital to the Celtics right now. With Rob not around,
I think he becomes John. To your point, John, I think Al becomes your second most important.
He might be.
I think he is
vital.
I think he is the series.
Yeah, because he gives you that rim protection that you need. He gives you the ability to stretch the floor. He gets Andre Drummond's ass off the floor real quick because Drummond can't guard him away from the paint. And so he helps you eliminate.
Drummond's like way older than him now.
Give you a boost offensively, do a good job defensively, and just a monster on the boards. I mean, like I said, this was circa 2016-17 Al Horford we saw out there in game 1. And again, I don't know how many games you're going to get like that from Al, which is why getting Rob back in this series is so important. Ime talked about that pregame where basically, they're not planning on having Rob back for this series, but he is on the right path as far as the predetermined time that he be out. And as we know, he should be coming back, or technically at the earliest, like maybe game 5, 6. And if he's back at that point, all bets are off. The series is a wrap. It's a wrap at that point. It's a wrap.
My prediction on CLNS media was Bobby comes back. Was
Bobby
Robert
will come back.
Was Robert comes back by game 4, and the Celtics never
really.
Lose again.
You think by game 4, John?
Game 4, wow.
But I did have the Celtics down 2-1 at that point. And then I said
I was going to say that if you didn't.
Well, John, you didn't anticipate them to have that extra day in between games 1 and 2, though, right? I think that sort of helped things. Though.
All of it helps. Yeah. All of it helps.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll see. I don't know what Ben Simmons is doing. You guys saw him out there on the court. Bobby was making fun of him.
He literally dribbled out here for like 12 minutes and then went back. Like, it's awkward, to be honest. It was awkward.
It's a weird dude. He did about as much. Yeah. He did about as much as Rob did. Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone's taking pictures of him, which maybe that didn't help, but I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was awkward.
I think he's great. I think he's great for boosting your IG presence by getting pictures of him and putting him on your IG. That's pretty much the value he has.
That's all he came out here right now. Yeah,
that's pretty much all the value you're going to get out of him at this point.
He's got the Kardashian.
And if you're Brooklyn,
I'm really.
And if you're Brooklyn, that. But you're also
that's Kendall's
ex-boyfriend.
That's Kendall's ex-boyfriend, as far as a lot of people should be concerned right now. That's all he is.
I'm saying. If you're gonna unleash him, it's got to be in Brooklyn. You're not gonna put him in this atmosphere. You're not gonna throw him into the fire. And it shouldn't have taken this long anyways to start. But this is where you are now. So if you do play him, you don't put him in.
But you know
1
what?
or 2. I guess you might as well wait till you go to Brooklyn.
You can't. But here's the funny thing about playing Ben Simmons, though. One of the reasons why Brooklyn played as well as they did and kept the Celtics, from pulling away was because they had really good offensive scores pretty much on the floor at all times. And then you had Claxton, who's good around the rim. You put Ben Simmons on the floor, you play 4 and 5 on offense. Yeah. You play 4 and 5. He's not
nobody guarding him.
You're not going to guard him. And when Kevin Durant, when he swings it to Kevin, guess what? The double team is going to come at Kevin. And Kevin is going to do the smart basketball play and swing it to the man who's open. That's going to be Ben. Ben is going to have to play more aggressive offensively when he comes back than I think he's comfortable with. And he has shown us all he's not about doing what's uncomfortable. And attacking, being aggressive, looking to score, he's going to do that. And
it's not about growth. Doesn't look very comfortable.
So I'm not sure how much of an impact. He's going to be a good defender, but offensively, I think he's going to cause some problems for them, particularly if the Celtics are able to find ways to score. Because if he's guarding Jason Tatum, all Tatum's going to do is what he did in the first half tonight and get other guys the ball. And if those guys are knocking down shots, Ben Simmons' presence is negligible because he literally at that point isn't helping you. Because if other guys are scoring, he's not helping you. And if he's not giving you anything on offense, what the hell is he out
What
there
are we talking about? Right. What are we talking about? No, that's accurate, Sherrod. Especially from the point guard position, like you put him out there offensively, going up against this defense. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster. It's hard for someone like that to adapt, and let alone to adapt to the regular season, let alone the postseason, where the team is driven as this team, as the Celtics. Right now they're gonna see him. They're gonna see blood. They're gonna be like, oh, we got this guy. Like, they're gonna give him all the pressure.
I don't know how much time you guys have spent kind of seeing this, but I know the Kyrie Irving stuff, with him giving the finger in the hallway, giving the finger after the three. There's like more and more stuff hitting social media now. He's given a double finger behind his head to the crowd, because people
during Ramadan, huh?
This guy's
NBA charities who are about to get the cash.
This guy, he
Shout
said,
out to NBA charities. They about to get paid.
There's people on Twitter saying he said, "Suck." What happened here? They're in his head.
Yeah, John, we tried.
I mean, I know he had an awesome game, but like,
get in his pocket. The league is about to get in his pocket real deep.
What happened here, Mister? I want to put this all behind me, and why don't you guys give me a highlight video? And then he's like freaking turning around and giving everybody the finger.
The highlight video that they will put together is not the kind that he would want to see.
They should put one together. Actually,
what's going on in this guy's brain?
I just think it's wild for him to think that he can decide when the Celtics fan gonna stop hating him. Like, what makes you think? All right,
guys, I'm done with it.
You get to decide when the feud's over? No, especially because every time he comes here, he does something that pisses off the Celtics fans. The Celtics fans do not forget. If they didn't forget him stepping on Lucky last playoffs, they're not gonna forget him calling them scoring girlfriend or whatever the word
here's
was.
Kyrie's quote. Here's Kyrie's quote. Ready? When asked about it, I don't have it. I'm just gonna read it. When people, I'll get. There's a lot of language.
Just let him read it, Jimmy.
When people start yelling this P and B and F you, there's only so much you can take as a competitor. Nah, F that. That's the playoffs. It is what it is. I know what to expect in here, and I'm ready to give the same energy back to them. So we're basically fifth graders now.
You're gonna say something mean about me.
We're basically,
but they did it first.
We're basically in fifth grade now. That's the rationale.
They started it. They started it.
Is that how Kyrie would
homeschool? This is why homeschool is so important.
Kyrie, Boston will never, ever like you. Ever.
No.
Ever. Forget it. Move on to something else. Never. Oh my goodness gracious, this guy.
Athletes have lived for 50 years and died, and they've never been for opponents have literally died enemies. Like, dude, it's not gonna end well ever.
So
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah, like
come on.
Never gonna be.
6 stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like if you were to come into this building like 30, 40 years from now, you get the same treatment. I mean, let's
But also honest. Like going back to like fifth grade, like if you respond and react and let the fans know that it's bothering you, like guess what, buddy? It's just gonna do it more now. Like,
little Josue gonna keep going. That's right.
Josue, are you at the zoo?
Yeah, promise that sound is from my place.
This was like that was like screeching.
Yeah.
Some kids over here playing a pickup game.
That's awesome.
I can imagine this. Someone's kids. Yeah.
But yeah, the Kyrie. Listen, this is game one, and the Kyrie first Boston is already at a peak level. So I mean, listen,
I love it though.
I'll go back to what I said. Credit to Kyrie though. I mean, he still played, at the very top of.
But that's the thing.
Level of play. So I don't even know if it's really that much bothering him. Like he feeds off of it.
I've never understood like a faction of like some people who are like, I hate that stuff. Let's just play basketball. No, that stuff is great. Like Kyrie doing this and being who he is and having the history with Boston and then friggin' giving everybody the finger like 100 times over and having an awesome game, but also, being, kind of the face of failure at the end. This is great. This is what makes this great. Oh, it's so much better than like if we shot a jumper over Zach LaVine to win it. Like that, nobody cares. Like it's like, the Kyrie aspect of this is so great. And it just adds to the series. And then they're gonna, he's gonna be friggin' a maniac next game, sure. after this.
Sure. And listen, for him to go up in the press conference and say all those things, and John, maybe you're right. Maybe that was in his brain a little bit in the final seconds or the final minute of the game.
Did he want it? Did he want it?
Really wanting the dagger shot, like that final FU, literally like on the basketball court FU type. And it didn't happen that way for him. So listen, I fully expect Kyrie and Durant to come out and do their thing. The rest of this series is just going to be a matter of, can the Celtics as a team, outperform them? And I think that they can. For sure.
What did you guys think? I asked Jimmy this. Do you think Kyrie, because again, Kyrie is the reason that the Nets' last possession went bad. He held onto the ball too long. He dribbled into a double. He got himself into a bad position. He had to kick it out to Durant, who had no chance, but no choice but to shoot a contested jumper. And so that was it. How much of that was Kyrie thinking, I'm going to end these guys right here, me?
I think a lot of it was that mindset. Because up to that point, I can't really blame him. He was torching them. All of them. Marcus Smart got some of that. Tatum, you got some of that. Jaylen Brown, you got some of that. Al Horford on the switch. Yup, you got some of that too. And so for Kyrie, I understand the mindset, but I give the Celtics a hell of a lot of credit for that late game adjustment where they took the damn ball out of his hands. They literally forced him to do what he absolutely did not want to do, and that's give it up. And to their credit, they made sure he did not get it back. And so, again, the Celtics, this is what great elite defensive teams do. They make not just adjustments throughout the game, but game-altering, game-changing, put the damn nail in the coffin type of adjustments that get you wins in games where you haven't played great. I didn't think the Celtics defensively were great at all, but they made the great plays when they needed to be made. And Kyrie, like I said, the way this game ended, I think, was a microcosm of why the Celtics are the number 2 seed and why Brooklyn is number 7. The Celtics made the plays defensively that they needed to make. Brooklyn had the defensive breakdowns when it literally cost them the game. Because there's no way in hell Tatum should have had that layup. No way.
Nope.
Yeah, that's true.
And Brooklyn has no one to blame for that but themselves. Credit Marcus Smart for understanding who the hell was defending them, knowing that he could probably make that play because this is a team that does not have a high defensive IQ. That's simple.
Yeah, that's true. I just think the way that the Celtics have been playing defensively, like their tactics, especially with Durant, when you got Durant looking over his shoulder every other possession, that's how a team, you're playing real good team defense because he's not just worried about the guy in front of him. And I thought that took a toll on them. I think the Celtics, honestly, on defense, they sort of picked their poison and they picked Kyrie, and yes, it did go down to the wire. I don't think they anticipated for that to happen so fast the way it did in that fourth quarter, but you have to give them credit because they kept the composure. The Brooklyn Nets, guys like Kyrie and Durant in this series, they can afford for them to play hero ball, right? In stretches, especially in the fourth quarter. They're actually depending on that. The Celtics can't do that, especially against those guys, because one missed shot, one turnover, and it's an automatic layup. You saw how fast they erased that 15-point lead that the Celtics had. They needed less than a quarter to do that. That's how good, that's how scary their offense is between those two guys. But the Celtics' defense, at the end, they countered when it mattered most. And late game execution, no hero ball whatsoever. Everybody touched that ball before Tatum got the layup to go.
Which is, again, amazing considering the way most of the fourth quarter went. Now, again, right. What I hope is whatever they did from the point they were down 107-102, both offensively and defensively, to claw back into that game and win it the way they did was beautiful and textbook and focused and organized and all of that, from blocking Durant, the last play of the game, putting the clamps on Kyrie, all of that stuff. Great. Clutch threes. But how freaked are you guys? How concerned, 1 to 10 level of concern after watching them really unravel over the first 8-9 minutes of that fourth quarter?
4.
4 out of 10?
Yeah. Yeah,
you think
that's my, because it's to me it's definitely something that you think about, but I'm not like panicking about that because as Josue pointed out, you're talking about two pretty damn good offensive players, and at that point, they're just trying to claw their way back into the game. And I give Brooklyn credit; they played a really good game. This was a better played game by Brooklyn overall than I expected to see in game one. So I mean, let's not crap on them too much. But that being said,
we're not. They outscored the Celtics 29-19. In the fourth quarter.
Right.
So I mean, it was a bad fourth quarter by the Celtics.
Absolutely.
And
but it was a phenomenal quarter, to quote Bobby, by Kyrie Irving.
He just walked in here too.
He had 18 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, sometimes there are teams that don't even.
And that's the worry, is that they have two guys who at any point in time, defense doesn't matter. And again, I know defense did matter in the end there, but not a lot of the time. You threw your best guys at him and he just did whatever he wanted. And at any given time, Durant can too. And not to say the Celtics don't have that to counter. There's times where Jason Tatum's absolutely unguardable and unstoppable, and Jaylen Brown as well. So of course the Celtics have that, but it's that whole puncher's chance thing, like no lead is safe. Those guys are dangerous as hell, but Celtics just can't lock up like that. They can't go into one of these. They can't go into hibernation on offense. They can't go into ISO. They can't stop moving the ball. Like they did, the first 9-10 minutes of that fourth quarter. That's the nightmare scenario. That's what you worry. That's the only thing you worry about with these guys. They either go ice cold and can't hit any of their open looks, and that didn't happen. They did a good job today. You could get a little more on the bench, or the fourth quarter execution problems. So the fact that they were able to turn it around and play the way they did the last couple of minutes was unbelievable, considering the way that was trending.
It just felt like all game long that they were more focused on making sure that Kevin Durant never got comfortable. Whenever he dribbled, it seemed to be he was either guarded by someone or had two or more people coming at him, and they pretty much played Kyrie straight up. They pretty much they really didn't double him and blitz him until that last possession. And I think that might be the game plan going forward, that we're going to force Kyrie to be ISO Kyrie, which he's very good at that, but we're not going to let Kevin Durant get going. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that if he's scoring with hands, plural, not singular, in his face. And I thought that was the game plan, and it worked brilliantly in game one.
If you're Brooklyn, what do you most – go ahead, Josue. You wanted to say something on that.
No, just real quick.
I would also like to say something someday.
All right, Jimmy, you got next, I swear. All right. I just want to squeeze
Jimmy, you can do the comm read right after this and then roll into whatever you want to talk about.
I want to finish this convo, and then we'll do comm.
Okay.
That's why in that fourth quarter, like midway through, I think it was before that. I turned to Bobby, who was sitting next to me. I'm like, Al's going to have to play over 40 minutes. And look, Al can do that. He's had the week off, but there's a reason why, because it's on both ends, if you ask me, on offense and also especially on defense, but also because, like you talked about earlier, John, there's three guys coming off that bench. If three of them are having so-so games, that's the spot you're going to be put in. And right now with Rob out, I'm okay with that. I love that. And obviously we saw his stat line and, 20-plus points, 15-plus rebounds. Like, when's the last time someone his age did that in the playoffs? I mean, look, he's got it. He's good for it, is what I'm trying to say. But you want to be wary about fourth quarter late game execution because you don't have a whole lot of options, and when he's got to play that many minutes because that's how different things are on both ends when he's not out there,
Yeah. All right. Let's let Jimmy say his
go ahead.
thing.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to say,
all right, let's move on.
And that's it for the show, everybody. Thank you for No, my level of concern is higher than Sherrod's, only for the fact that was always my main concern. So we kind of saw the concern come to fruition there in the fourth quarter. The fact that they can score and come back as quickly as they can. If you're the Celtics, the one, I guess, positive you can take away from it is that you saw it happen. So you can never be comfortable with a lead. A double-digit lead against this Nets team can go away just like that. I mean, it happened within just a couple of minutes, it felt like. So I am concerned. I'm like more of a 7, I think, on the scale of 1 to 10 in my concern. I think that the Celtics showed that they're capable of taking the punch and, getting off the mat and punching back in the end. But at the same time, you don't want to play with fire, because when you're dealing with proven, champions and all-time great player like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving playing like an all-time great player tonight, we know what he's capable of. You can't fool around with these guys. You have to step on their throats. When you have a 15-point lead, you don't let them get within 2 possessions. You don't let it get to a 3-point game where they have, 3 or 4 guys who can hit a shot like that. I mean, Curry didn't, Curry was hot right after the beginning of this game. He disappeared for the final 3 quarters. But if Curry was on tonight, that's another offensive weapon that can score from the outside. So they have players who can score in bunches. And I just would never be too careful or too comfortable, I guess is the word, with the lead. So hopefully that was the lesson that they learned tonight. But the concern is still there. But I picked the Celtics, to win this series prior to it. And, I'm not changing. I'm obviously not going to change that after what I saw tonight.
I know. I'm not saying anyone should change, but it's everything you worried about.
It's reality, for sure.
There's a lot of stuff that was like, I hope that doesn't happen. That did. And there's stuff, and there's stuff that,
Right.
went well as well. Look, the Celtics are a good team. They're not laying down, but it's like, it's a 2-7 first round matchup. You like these things to be cupcakes, and it's not. It was. I mean, I aged it. I aged 2 years during this one.
You saw a blowout. The game before that's a heat. That's easy.
Well, that's what happened when there's 50 fouls called in the game, John. Jeez, like.
Oh my God! Was that
these games are going to be
half,
3 hours long?
That first half was brutal with the
like
fouls. My God, every single.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jimmy, do your thing. Jimmy, do your thing.
What do we got? We got what, our comm thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. All right, listen, everybody.
I got to fill in some holes after, but go ahead.
Everybody watching right now.
There it is.
What a game! What a roller coaster of emotions. Everyone's fired up, wired. Thing is, it's almost 7:30 here on the East Coast. We've got to settle down. So I want everyone to take a deep breath in, exhale, deep breath out, and go to calm.com/garden and get 40% off a Calm premium subscription. First of all, just go to Calm, download the app.
This would be such a different vibe if they lost.
There's a couple of features that you can get on.
Here he goes. He's riffing. That
are free. But if you want the full enchilada, if you really want to take your Calm experience to the next level, you got to get the premium subscription. Music, soundscapes,
the executive package,
the executive, meditation, the whole nine. Really, it's going to take your brain and your mind and your mental to a completely new level. So I would expect and I would hope that everyone's going to check out Calm. Go to calm.com/garden, get 40% off, which is a great deal. I think it's $15 a month typically. 40% off of that. I mean, what's that? A beer at the bar? I mean, treat your body with some respect, okay? Help yourself out. Check out the app. Help us out too. Calm's a big sponsor of ours, and we want to keep doing this show for you guys. Yeah. We would appreciate the subscription.
And let me fill in a couple of holes here from the Calm people that they want to tell you about, okay?
Yeah.
What we got?
I think Jimmy's got a lot of the good stuff, but again, what we're talking about is the number one sleep and meditation app. It reduces stress and anxiety through guided meditations. For those of you who are uninitiated or unaffiliated, we're talking about improving your focus and getting your mind right with curated music tracks, rest and recharge with Calm's imaginative sleep stories for children and adults, even new daily movement sessions designed to relax your body and uplift your mind. So again, over 100 million people around the world use Calm. I don't believe it, Josue. Do you believe it? 100 million?
No comment.
Big numbers.
Wow.
Calm is ready to help you stress.
Okay.
This is my favorite. This is their catchphrase. Stress less. Okay? Stress less. Sleep more. Live happier, healthy life.
Calm of the day, guys. In all seriousness, man, that's a good one. The calm of the day. It's only like 7-8 minutes long. Every day is a new one. It helps. It's good.
Yeah.
Little daily calms here. Daily practice.
Daily calm is good.
Yeah. One of my buddies used to say with the stress less thing, he used to say to people who at the bar, he'd say, "You need to drink less, more."
There you go.
That was one of his sayings.
Not bad advice.
I love it. My boy Marty. Drink less, more.
Shout out Marty.
That, huh? Yeah, shout out to Marty.
I freaking love that. Drink less, more. You need to.
There's
I feel like that's like a Boston. That should be a Boston slogan.
It's one of my favorite expressions.
There's even a Calm kid.
Slogan.
Look, there's even a Calm kids. We got some parents.
Jimmy showing his phone again.
Your kids just won't fall asleep. You've done everything you can possibly think.
He's still going.
To shut up. toss on Calm Kids.
Jimmy,
lock them
that's
in the
your Tinder
room.
app, bro.
Lock them in there. Look, they got My Little Pony, History.
My boy Marty used to say that.
Yeah, Marty.
My boy Marty.
Anybody watching this show who's not from Boston, they're like, oh, of course his name is Marty. Yeah.
He's got a boy named Marty.
Classic. Peter Pan, Pinocchio. I mean, you can go on and on with some of these sleep stories that they have. Toss the kid in the crib, put on Calm Kids, and pour yourself a glass of wine and enjoy your Sunday night after a big Celtics win. And we're giving you that
doing it.
Huge win.
Kid's doing it. Jimmy, I'm going to let you dictate the direction of the conversation. Go.
Yeah, what you got, Jimmy?
God. What do I have?
Wait, Bobby's here. What's up, Bobby?
Perfect.
Never mind, Jimmy. We're good. Never mind, Jimmy. We're good. Hey,
sorry,
Bobby.
I knew I was gonna.
Jimmy's not gonna get a word in for about 12 minutes now.
I'm sorry.
I'm good. I'm good. I'll see
no, that's not even a knock on Bobby. What you got,
Bobby?
We got a classic right there. That was amazing.
Yeah,
you'll never forget that ending.
Phenomenal,
Hectic
Bobby.
game.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's Marcus Smart. Like the way he took control of the game late, that was all him.
Marcus.
Took the ball, made 3 amazing plays in a row, none bigger than the last one. I've seen a lot of great like pass up shots to get better shots this season. That's number one by far. I mean, he had a little bit of space to fire there, had more space to shoot a little floater or, pull up jumper from mid range with, 1-2 seconds left there. And he still finds another pass. And that's what he's been doing the entire second half of the year. That's why his return was the X factor for this group, turning it around after that Wizards game. And really his play overall, unlocking this offense, making it one of the most dominant units in the league this year. Like, so much credit goes to him because Jason Tatum, he couldn't get it done late. Jaylen Brown struggled with the ball. Really hectic and erratic play from him throughout this one. It reminded me of the Knicks game. Like, you needed someone to calm it down. You need someone to make 2-3 plays and just slam the door. It was almost
weird,
too late,
Bobby?
but he did it.
Bobby, wasn't that weird? You talk about the erratic play almost for no reason. They were playing fast and frenetic at times without really a need to. That's what was weird when it got away from them a little bit there. They just allowed themselves to get a little bit disorganized. It wasn't Nets pressure.
I think it's a mix of how much they were trying to get the ball up court in transition, get the ball downhill. I think the Nets did a good job of poking a lot of balls free on Tatum's drives and stuff. And I think by the end, a real exhaustion set in, especially for Tatum. He had a big assignment on Durant. I think the intensity of playing defense in this game caught up to him and some other guys early in that fourth quarter because the way Kyrie was just walking by guys to the basket, like, it was startling, especially Tatum. He was looking for Tatum early in that fourth quarter, and he got him. So they were fortunate to escape this one. They really were, because you lose in that fashion, collapsing on both ends, going scoreless on 9 out of 13 possessions midway through the fourth quarter there. That's the kind of stuff that can just derail you mentally, start having guys pointing fingers. I think fingers were being pointed after that last Irving 3, the one that made it 107-102 in the timeout huddle there. But they came out, they responded. And I think, again, John, we talked about on Spaces whether the old Celtics could return. And I don't know if the fact that they answered and escaped that collapse makes you feel any better about that. But they did emerge for the start of the fourth, and then it flipped over the last 2 minutes.
That's what we're trying to figure out. Right now, one of two things. You saw them, which means they still exist. I'm talking December Celtics, and that freaks you out. But they overcame it, and you wonder, are they just dusting it off? And now that they've got this one behind them, are we not going to see that again? I don't know which one that is. Obviously, I know people will want it to be the latter, and that would be great. But every time you see it rear its head, like I said, that's why that Miami game just made me sick to my stomach. I was like,
it looked like the Miami game, missing layups,
missing layups and bad execution late. And I'm watching, and it's just like, that's why that game. Everyone's like, it's one game, dude. I'm like, I know, but it just, without Rob, without that X factor, without the thing that kind of the difference maker, separator, and that starting unit that was just destroying people, they come down a notch. And so then it's up to them playing clean basketball and executing and moving the ball and doing all those things. And then you see those games, those fourth quarters, which is most of this one and that Miami one. This is against high caliber Eastern Conference opponent like the ones you're going to face the rest of the way here if you're going to get anywhere. And that's what freaks you out a little. You hope that they can get past it. You don't want to see it again. So I don't know.
So Sherrod, what the way I'm going to answer that is the way they responded and the way they communicated and the way everybody took up their own share of the playmaking duties and all the stuff that they need to do to win the game encouraged me that they're going to be able to move past that. If there was something like, that three, I go back to that three at 107, 102, Smart veered in a little too much on Durant on that play, left Irving wide open, and that's what allowed that play to happen. If Smart turned the ball over 2 more times after that, and I don't know, whatever, if there were more mistakes down the stretch, and guys were able to point fingers at each other and say, like, oh, if this guy didn't do that or that or that, that's what would worry me. The fact that everybody stepped up encourages me. And I see Tatum talking now. We all thought Marcus was going to take the shot, he says. I think everything about this team's turnaround, and Marcus talked about this after the game, is trust-oriented. Like, they began to trust Smart as the point guard. They began to trust Tatum's playmaking. Tatum started to trust guys as shooters. That all connects, and that's all what kept us so stable. The fact that they were still able to lean on each other late in the game and everyone was able to do their part to, make it a win, I think they can brush off that fourth quarter very easily.
I hope so. What do you guys think?
I'm not worried about the fourth quarter for a lot of the reasons that Bobby laid out. But to me, more important, they withstood, I think, the best punch that Brooklyn could possibly throw. I mean, Kyrie Irving was incredible in the fourth quarter. Brooklyn is a good team, but I can't imagine Brooklyn being much better. There's probably another level they can get to, but they're not going to be much better than what we saw offensively in the fourth quarter. And the Celtics withstood that. They withstood that. And as much as we want to point about how Kevin Durant wasn't impactful, Kyrie was significantly impactful. 18 fourth quarter points. That is not normal. That is not normal. And even against, not only is it not normal, you're talking about 18 points against the best defense in the NBA. So
over Smart, that last one too.
Yeah,
tough shots.
They made some tough shots, and that's why I'm not really freaking out about this, because I can't imagine that Brooklyn would have a similar fourth quarter that we saw tonight, where one guy single-handedly put that Brooklyn team on his back and almost carried him to victory. Because the thing about this game that I keep coming back to this, they had so many guys that played great that damn well are not going to play this well going forward. You can't bank 17. You can't bank on 17 points from Dragic. You can't bank on that bench shooting 8 for 10 from the field in the first half, which is a big reason why it was tied up. You can't anticipate that stuff is going to happen based upon who those players are and who they're playing.
Well, let me ask you this, Sherrod. Can you bank on defending Durant that well again? Because you did about as good a job on him as you could have imagined.
I think that there was a clear difference in emphasis on defending Durant than there was on Kyrie. I think that they were much more focused on defending Durant and limiting his impact than they were on Kyrie.
Could see that.
It seemed that there were multiple defenders pretty much every time Durant touched the ball. That was not the case with a Kyrie. You saw a lot of Kyrie. Whenever there was a switch, they pretty much let whoever got switched on Kyrie try to hold their own. And if Kyrie drove into the paint, then they might attack. But Kyrie wisely took jump shots, took mid-range shots, didn't allow that defense to really double team him the way that the Celtics were planning to. So Kevin Durant did not have that luxury. Kevin Durant, they had him locked in mid-range, attacking the rim, three-point range. They would not allow him to ever get any kind of comfortable feel. And that led to him missing a couple shots that he normally makes. I thought he had a couple of looks in the fourth quarter that were the shots that Kevin Durant typically makes that he didn't. But a lot of that to me is because of what happened in the previous 3 quarters.
Yeah, I think even on that second to last play right before the game winner, he hesitated a little bit. Celtics were scrambling, swarming. They got to the spots before he could. think of the last game. He was able to hit the brakes on Rob and shoot over him comfortably. 2 guys were in his airspace all the time. I was really impressed. Grant switched onto him great. That was my biggest takeaway of the first half, is just how difficult they made life for him. But that's an aside. That's just, one thing that it could swing either way going forward. Jimmy, did you leave this game more optimistic or pessimistic?
Optimistic, because of just how they finished it. And I would have obviously, I said at the top, I said if they lose this game, they lose the series, just the way it ended and
agreed.
The way it ended, and the way that they broke down in the fourth quarter. But for them to be able to make that execution that they needed to make down the stretch, to come back, take the biggest punch they could have taken, hit the mat, but get back up and see the win, like feel the feeling of seeing the ball go in and hearing the buzzer sound and coming out on top, like that gives me a hell of a lot more confidence in this team than it would have if they lost this game. I honestly feel like they would have lost the series. So I'm still confident that they can win the series. Nothing really surprised me, I don't really think, in this game. Like, what, Kyrie drops 40?
Dragic did a little bit, as Sherrod said.
No, that's true. But he's also, like, weirdly performed well against the Celtics over the years. So, and he is a talented player when he gets some level of burn. So I wasn't stunned, but I was surprised to an extent to see his effect. But the Nets bench, and we talked about it earlier in the show, like, they're very, very thin. Without Dragic tonight, I mean, they're really getting no production off that bench. So you really do need 30, 35 from each Durant and Kyrie to really give your team a chance to win this series. And I just don't know if they have it in them with the supporting cast that they have. So I feel pretty good about the Celtics after this. We can talk about some of the things that they didn't do right. And I mean, I think, especially not taking advantage of turnovers, like poor execution at stretches. Obviously they got production at points. Jason Tatum had a great game. First half he didn't score a ton, but he was doing a lot. I think he had 7 assists in like the first quarter, something crazy like that. And Marcus Smart coming alive in the second half. So every player contributed at certain points, but I thought that there were points throughout the game where it was like, wow, these guys are just running around. I thought that they were kind of out of sorts, especially in that first half. It felt like the game was just going at 100 miles an hour, and then it was like a foul and it would stop, and then it would start back up at 100 miles an hour and then it would stop. It was not much of a flow to it.
Yeah, offensively they were a mess. Defensively, though, they set a real tone with the physicality.
Defensively, they were great. They just couldn't make the most of it on the offensive end.
Yep, agreed, especially in transition. But let me get my bite at the Nets, because
chomp away.
I mean, this is like some of the stuff they did tonight was despicable. I mean, an inbounds where no one comes back, and Kyrie just throws the ball away and Smart's dunking over him. I mean, that doesn't even happen in high school. I mean, there were stretches in this game that should terrify you if you're a Nets fan. Like hands on hips, no one talking to each other, guys staring at each other like, really, you just did that? Guys letting Celtics blow right by them to the rim, fouling their heads off. And I know it ended up evening out by the end of the first quarter, but that set a terrible tone for the game. They're so undisciplined, and this is what I'm talking about.
You should be able to break them with sustained effort and focus. Yep. You should be able to break them because they are front runners. They're not going to be great when you punch them in the mouth. They all of that stuff you're talking about. That's why, again, in that third quarter when the Celtics surged, they could have friggin' ended them right there, and they let them hang around.
But it was shot making, right, from Irving. There was nothing you could do about that.
Durant's hitting the one-footed floaters. They didn't have a great game, but he hit a couple contested shots. Kyrie. I
do feel like the turnovers fed it, though.
That's my counter to that, Bobby. Is and when you and I debated this series, leading up to it, every single thing you say about Brooklyn and their problems is right, and then my counter is, but it doesn't matter. And that's what it is it doesn't matter when you have two of the best shot makers ever on the other side. If you're not playing great or perfect, or they're not falling for you, those guys can just beat you no matter what you do sometimes, because they just hit shots in your friggin' face. And that's what's scary about these guys. So all of that stuff is right. They're not super deep. They're friggin', they don't get a lot of points in the paint. They don't have a real solid interior presence. They don't play a lick of defense. Check. But those guys can still beat anybody on any given night.
But can you win a series just leaning on two guys bailing you out of everything? That's why harder. I couldn't pick the Nets.
It's harder, and that's why I don't know. It's harder for sure.
Yeah.
But again, each game is a game like every other. And
well, let me ask you a question.
If you tense up and if you play the way the Celtics played tonight, and missing layups, not executing in the fourth quarter, stop moving the ball, all of that stuff. Yes, you can lose multiple games in this series. But if you don't do that, if you're the Celtics, then
it was scary. It was a scary sight.
What's up, Jimmy?
Watching this game, knowing what you got out of the Brooklyn bench, and knowing who you have sitting on the bench, not in uniform, would Ben Simmons have been the difference in this game tonight?
I mean, Bobby would say it's a negative difference. Yeah.
Would Ben Simmons have given the Nets a win tonight? John's answer might be yes. Bobby's answer is probably no.
I'm watching him pregame, and he's just bouncing the ball around, not really move. He doesn't look like a guy that's ramping up. And, maybe it's just for show, and he doesn't want to draw attention to himself, and they're playing coy on this. But I just don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready to step into the series and do anything. I'd be stunned.
Him from scoring at the buzzer? Better than Kyrie at little?
Yeah, I mean, it's another guy who can step in there and switch, but yeah, you're gonna have Kyrie and Durant out there at all times.
In that situation.
Yeah, he's in that Claxton Drummond mix, and Drummond, man, he's not going to be able to play in the series. You saw the way he played tonight. Claxton was really good. I guess you could use Simmons in that mix at the 5, but again,
that's what I mean. Is if you want to go small ball and take Drummond off the court, there you can play Simmons at a 4 or a small ball 5 and not worry. And you're right, when you're not, you can't have Claxton and Simmons out there or Simmons and Drummond out there at the same time. That's going to really clog things up.
He's going to have to play the 5.
But
is he ready for that?
Play a 5 out there with Brown, Irving, Curry and Durant, and you can get away with that when you're 4. When you have a 6'11" guy in Durant out there as well, you can get away with that. You can
also get away with it when Tice is on the other end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Tice was brutal.
Tice was brutal. We talked about it a little.
Yeah. It's a Grant series.
You say it's a Grant series, but Sherrod wasn't too happy with Grant either.
No. Really, Sherrod? I thought he was awesome on Durant.
I thought he was awful.
I thought his defense played. I thought he played well. I thought he played well on defense.
Fine. I mean,
offensively he wasn't hitting shots, and that's good. It's gonna make or break him. But
I don't think Tice. Like I said, Bobby. In that second half, how many possessions?
I was worried about Tice too. How
many possessions in a row did they did they target Tice on a switch? Every time down the court.
And that's what got Kyrie going, wasn't it?
Yep. It was Durant or Kyrie getting Tice on a switch, on the high pick and roll, and then just going to work, one after the other. And Tice knew, and when they were taking him to the basket, he knew like anything I do here is going to result in a foul. So he wasn't even really playing them aggressively. He was just kind of laying back and trying to stay around them. But they could get anything they wanted there off of that. That was,
You weren't high on Grant, Sherrod?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't high on him because I thought, again, their best defense on Kevin Durant was help defense. So I will say this, Grant did a good job of funneling him to where the help was. I'll give him that. Yeah. I'll give him that. But he has to be able to impact the game at both ends of the floor. And by impact, I'm not saying he needs to go out there and get you 20 and 10, but if you've got an open shot, you need to make that. If you are passing the ball to a teammate, that pass needs to get there without being deflected. You have to make your presence felt so that defense can respect you. But more important, free up a little more space for Tatum and Brown to do what they do. And I thought Grant did not do a good enough job in that area. His defense, I just didn't think was that good. I didn't. I thought he got great help from guys around him. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it was a team effort. That's what they talked about in Durant there. But I thought he fit well in it, and he was at that spot a lot. He was getting the hands up. They were getting a lot of quality contests on Durant, more than you could ever imagine. Like, it was a sensation. Whether it was him or the team or, whoever gets credit there, we'll go back and look at the film. But
are you trying to switch to sensational there?
It wasn't phenomenal.
Yeah.
Smart.
just a tick below.
Wasn't quite there.
I saw you try to sneak into sensational.
Smart rose to phenomenal in this game, but everyone else, they got stuff to work on. I
thought Al was phenomenal.
Ooh, he was.
20 and 15.
And I did write about Al for Boston Sports Journal. Just sort of a look at his path here, coming back to Boston, getting ready for this moment. I mean, this is his first playoff game in NBA arena since 2019 with the Celtics. So he was pumped up. You saw him flexing for the crowd after an early bucket inside. You saw him stepping right into a three in the early moments. And our commenters were on it. In that raw video we posted, John, who was in the front? Al just splashing threes at practice the other day, one after another. And that's how his shot looked in this game. It looks great. He closed the year shooting 44% from three. Yeah. Rebounding, he's been terrific. And just the switching, he's always there. Aggressive, banging mismatches in the post. Like, he did everything they needed, and he played 40 minutes.
We have to. I don't want to dwell on it. We have to get Rob back as quickly as possible. I know Bobby. You
don't want to dwell on it.
I know, Bobby, you have a lot of faith, and generally speaking, you think Daniel Theis.
I'm worried about Theis. I'm with you.
The more Daniel Theis games that you have, the more vulnerable you are here.
And all three of your guys pick up 2 fouls in that first, and you go, uh-oh, where are you going to go from here? But hopefully that doesn't happen again. That really threw the game off for both teams early, I thought, all that foul trouble. And the Nets were lucky it evened out because they were fouling like crazy early, and then the Celtics got it bad at the end of the first. And luckily, Al, I think, only ended with 3 fouls after the 2 in the first.
Again,
you're right, John. I don't love Theis in this series.
It's those heavy minutes, man. I like Theis as an absolute Band-Aid stopgap for a game. It's just, if they got to go 4, 5, 6, 7 games here, he's going to be exposed. You're gonna have to survive it. It's a problem. It's a real problem.
It is. Before we get out of here, we do have to talk about, I don't know if you guys already did, the Kyrie nonsense.
Oh, we
always have to go there.
We talked about it here. One, it's like, in the sense of, he's talking about wanting a friggin' tribute video, and then the first time somebody says something mean to him, he acts like a 5th grader, and he's like, whatever, here's the finger, I know you are, but what am I? So, like, I don't understand this guy, but what we were asking Bobby was...
He threw multiple fingers. He's going to leave this game with 3 different fines.
Twitter is nothing but Kyrie giving people the finger right now. There's like 100 different clips, but what we asked Bobby is, do you think Kyrie allowed it to get to him on that last possession, and he said, I'm burying these guys on my own, and allowed himself to get swallowed up by a double and get it late in the clock there and not able to get a great look?
For sure, and that's who he is, right? Like, he's got to impact the game with his scoring. He's a decent passer, but he's going to line you up, and that's the only way he's going to be able to impact the game on that end. You try to force him to pass out of those. He had a few good passing sequences in that second half, but he was essentially lining them up and just firing away, and you were able to get a good defensive stand on him on that last play. Lots of scrambling. Lots of credit goes to the Celtics on that in terms of just being there and, being on a string. I was really impressed with the defense as a whole here, but that's what it felt like, right? Like, he just started attacking head on. And part of it, I think, was the pressure we talked about on Durant. I wouldn't be stunned if the Nets said, all right, let's start to gear this toward Kyrie, just because of all the guys that are in Durant's airspace and how well the Celtics were prepared for him. Didn't feel like the Celtics were as sharp on Irving throughout much of the game. So I think that was more of a flow of the game thing than Irving saying F off. But again, like, he's going to... I hate to get like caught up in the back and forth with Kyrie here, but he's going to say, like, I'm done with these fans. Like, let's put this behind us. And then it's middle finger city and whatever he said in the tunnel there. I didn't even hear that.
Yeah. But then he's going to probably be like, hey, by the way, don't write about what I did with the finger there. That's fake news.
And this is just going to urge the fans on. Everyone's going to see this.
It's going to be great.
I mean, Jimmy, if he did what he did in the fourth, they won, and there were no fingers or anything else, that could have put an end to it. Like, all right, we're berating this guy, and he's killing us. Yeah. Maybe we should cheer him, and he won't go as crazy against us. But you're going back and forth, tit for tat. It's going to keep going.
He's had some unbelievable performances against the Celtics. I want to say this, though. I retweeted the videos that popped up. I retweeted the 2 finger. There are a couple different angles of the fingers during the game.
You got the over the head double.
That was unreal.
2 different angles. So like he's actually like.
I haven't seen the over the head one.
And then that one's great. And then like the S my D comment in the tunnel. That's another.
That was a throwback.
I'll say this. I'm trying to think of like another player that's sort of become unhinged like that during a game, and I can't even really think. It's embarrassing behavior.
Smart
really
gave the
guy-
Garden fans a finger
coming
once.
from a guy who acts like he's better than literally everybody else. That's why so many people are turned off from him. It's like, dude, you talk down to people, you belittle people, you think you're literally better than everybody else. For him to behave that way, it's like, dude, you're no better than anybody else. Like you're that's an embarrassment. I mean,
and doesn't it show it gets to him, Jimmy?
Fans are gonna get under your skin as an opponent. That's what they do. Keep it in line. But like, for you to go out there and like start giving the fans the finger and all this stuff, like that's just kind of
it's strange to have a professional athlete allow such garden variety stuff get to them. Like being booed is like the most normal thing in the world. Like in every hockey game you play, there's a villain on the other side that the opposing fans boo every time they. It's just that's
there's
just
something
how it works.
John.
Like, John ever done that? No.
Good players just get booed.
John, he remembers how it ended here. He remembers how it went down.
It's never going to change.
Yes, but that's part of it. This isn't just booze in Utah. This is like, this is personal for him. And
I know, but he's trying to rewrite history and make people feel differently. So
and that's what it is.
He's just not going to erase a narrative. You just got to live with it. Like, they hate me here. I said I was going to stay, and then I didn't stay, and that's it. It's not a complicated story. I promised them I would stay, and then I quit on them, and then ran off and formed a team on the side,
and then made fun of them every single time I came back.
Cheated on them mid-season, formed a team, then came back and stepped on the logo, and I've been shitting on their fans.
He hasn't acknowledged any of that, John. Now,
what happened?
Now Tatum did.
I'm about love. I'm about love.
Yeah. It makes me think, John, because Tatum talked a couple practices ago about a conversation he had recently with Irving, I'd assume, where Irving shared some regrets, said he wished he could do some things differently. So he's thinking about that,
like giving more people the finger.
I don't know. Tatum wouldn't get into it, but
he didn't give enough people the finger before. That was what his regret was.
Yeah,
no,
I think he was talking about during his time in Boston.
Yeah,
I don't think he meant after he left Boston.
I haven't told enough people to S my D. That's my biggest regret.
No, but it makes me think because
I didn't know you could say that.
You said like it should all be in the bag, John. Like it should all just be then passed and done. And it's not. It's clearly not. He's thinking about it. He's talking about it with Jason Tatum.
Is that good for Boston or bad? The fact that
it's amazing.
I was just going to say, John, that's good because if it wasn't exactly, Bobby, if that wasn't the case, if the Celtics fans weren't in his head, or I should say, if the Brooklyn Nets had more of a successful season, I don't think you hear these type of quotes from Kyrie. I really don't.
Josue. The future's uncertain. Harden just bombed out because he was sitting half the year. His status is kind of uncertain. He's going to be a free agent. He says he's staying, but who knows? And the whole roster, the coaching staff, it's all in flux if they lose the series. All of a sudden, it's like, all right, did I make the right move leaving Boston? Is that what he's thinking? He sees how the Celtics are ascending right now.
Hey, real quick,
Durant's thinking if I made the right move or not.
Yeah.
Josue, KD, yes. Kyrie, not so much.
KD, I think, started thinking it almost right away. Right around the time that Kyrie just
stopped playing. Oh, he didn't want to get vaccinated?
He pieced out last year with no explanation, and Durant was like, "What am I doing here?" And then
Kyrie was on Zoom calls in the middle of the season last year, man. He was on another planet.
Josue, did you just pop into Celtics interviews? Is that where you went?
I did. Yeah.
What do you got?
The last five minutes of Jason Tatum, and Tatum just talked about essentially what happened in that timeout, the last timeout the Celtics had, where guys were people were animated. I didn't have eyes on it, but I think it was Corrales or someone else had asked him about it, and he said, "Yeah, listen, we're at a point of our season where if other team is giving it to us the way the Nets were, they're going on a run, we're not going to like that. It's not going to sit well with us. We're not going to point fingers. We're not going to, try to, say who's to blame, but we're going to figure things out right then and there and go back in with the same attitude." And I thought that spoke a lot to why Ime didn't feel compelled to call that timeout, which obviously worked out, and it was a good thing for the Celtics, where I thought he sort of took a page out of what the Brooklyn was doing in terms of, they would still pressing the Celtics after makes. I think he sort of picked up on that as well. And also, why stop the play? Keep the pressure going. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's about trust. He really showed that he trusts.
I said that, Josue. Yeah.
And I think in the timeout, he heard enough. He's like, you know what? I'm comfortable with this, and I think that's huge because obviously it came out. They came out with a win, it was everyone involved in that timeout. It wasn't an ISO play just for Tatum. Marcus Smart obviously made the good play. So I thought that was really interesting him to say that.
John,
and then the last thing I want to say, real quick, Bobby,
right,
the last thing he talked about was the reaction to it. First the ball goes in, he knew it was in, but he didn't know how much time would be left on the clock. Once he knew the game was over, that sigh of relief in the crowd, he said he'd never heard TD Garden as loud as it was after he made that game-winning shot. And he noticed, or at least Gary Washburn noted, that this is his first buzzer beater. He's always hit these last-minute game or last-second shots with like 1.5 or 2.6 left on the clock. So it seemed like Tatum was just accustomed to that. He's like, all right, well, how much time do we have left to defend? And he, to his surprise, the game was over. Celtics win.
Yep. I'm thinking if they called timeout, it probably would have been a fadeaway, an isolation shot.
Yes, exactly.
That's what they always do.
Set up the defense. You let them set up a trap on Tatum, and it goes bad there. So it
was such a smart decision. That was one of my first thoughts after. Like, oh man, that he nailed it. Don't call timeout. Let them run the floor.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I thought that maybe a timeout would have been smart because I just thought the way that the game was going with just the
sloppy.
Yeah, exactly. I just didn't want to have a turnover or something, So, I mean, listen, the right decision was made.
I thought the same thing.
I'm glad he didn't call a timeout because, if
I am now, but
praise Ime for his coaching, his ATLs are not great. They're not. I mean, let's just be
at
real
the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I felt they would have had a better chance in a chaotic, open, where you're playing a bad team defensively to get something. To score.
But think about it. You might get personnel out there. Kyrie comes off the floor. It's totally different.
That's right.
There are too many things that
you're giving them an opportunity to not just set up, to get the right personnel out there completely. Look at what happened at the end of the day. You had Dragic. And you had Irving. And in fact, when Durant fell asleep and Claxton went for the up fake over there.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think that happens.
There's the two people left in the paint are Dragic and Irving. That's all that's left there because that's
what you want.
It was a brilliant play.
Neither of those guys is on the floor if they call a timeout and set up. So that was a huge difference of just personnel alone. What they got left with out there made a big difference.
It was absolutely brilliant. Can I say this too? Because this goes back to people blasting Ime early in the year. And call a timeout, stop these runs, call a play. This is what he was setting them up for. Being able to sustain on their own, make it happen in a playoff environment where it's not, micromanaging from the sideline. Those teams that micromanage don't do well in the playoffs. You got to be unpredictable. You got to be able to come up with something like this on the fly. And the fact that this team did, who was just completely incapable of handling themselves in fourth quarters, not only early in the year, but leading up to this game, they went 7-8 in the new year. It's such a step. I mean, could you imagine this team in January just freestyling a play like that? The Brown drive, the Smart up fake, and second level, Tatum cutting after. This team couldn't even do a single cut in December. Like, we were like, can anyone cut? Can anyone, anybody? Is this something these guys do? And
no off-ball movement. And in fact, they suffered from not having enough of it tonight, Bobby. Again, that's the irony of the entire way that the game ended. To have played such a horrible fourth quarter in terms of an execution standpoint, offensively, and then to pull off what they did there late in the game without the benefit of a timeout with such poise and composure, it's just not what you would have expected given the way things had gone, right up until that moment. It's amazing because it was just headed the wrong way. And it felt like you're headed for a Tatum misses a contested 20-footer with three guys on him sort of ending. And it didn't. It's just, it really is in that sense, the fact that they were able to get that shot, under those circumstances was so shocking and so, kind of uplifting if you're a Celtics fan, because that's not how I thought that thing was going to go down, in terms of, it's really incredible. Not that
just the maturation.
Not that they couldn't have won the game. I just the manner in which they won was just unbelievable. So, all right, we've been going a bit.
Shots fired.
We will wrap up a little bit. I want to let people know. Join our Discord server. People have been on it all game long. We're trying to get to 1,000. We should be there already. So let's go. CLNSmedia.com/Discord. Hang out there for those people not in the know with what this is, it's a chat room, place to go hang out, talk Celtics. Really good community of people in there. Tons of people who watch the show on a regular basis. All of us at one point or another go in there and hang out. Jimmy, Josue,
I might do that tonight.
So we do that.
Do it. I'll do it on my Uber.
Yes, absolutely. And one more shout out, if I can find it, to our lovely sponsor.
Calm.com.
Calm.com.
Calm. It's the Calm app, guys. You go to the Calm app. You can put the code in on the app as well. You don't have to go to a website or anything like that.
There it is.
But it's calm.com/Guardian. Receive 40% off a Calm premium subscription.
Okay, last thought once around very quickly. Jimmy, start with you. Based off of everything we saw tonight, are you more confident in not in the series or less confident than you were before the game began?
I'm more confident. I didn't know listen, I picked Celtics in 7, so obviously that could be Nets, and it comes down to the final game. I still think it's going to be a battle. This game proved that it is going to be a battle, even though the Celtics did take a fairly large lead. You can't count the Nets out. They're just too talented at the top. They can score too quickly, and you always have to be careful if you're the Celtics. That said, I loved what I saw from the starters today. From Tatum on down to Al. Tice, I'll leave him out for this one, but those guys that was a playoff performance that you could tell that these guys were up for. And I like the heart, I like the energy, I like the fight. I love the fact that they closed it out. I think if they lost this game, they would lose the series. I just think it would have been too much of a demoralizing loss. So that's my main takeaway. And my second takeaway is Kyrie Irving needs to toughen up a little bit. That's what I'll say about that.
Okay. What do you guys think? Game 2, 3 days away. Are you more confident rest of the series going forward after tonight, or has it shaken your confidence a little bit, Sherrod?
Same. I mean, I
feel the same.
I've been pretty consistent that I think Boston is just a better team, and this thing is going to go 5 or 6 games. There's nothing I saw in this game that makes me feel differently. Boston did exactly what they're supposed to do, and that's find a way to win. And Brooklyn, I thought, did what they were supposed to do, and that's give themselves as good a chance as you can give yourself to steal one. And they did that, and it just didn't work out. Boston made the plays both ends of the floor down the stretch when it mattered the most, and came with that dub.
All right, Bobby, you wanted the Nets.
Yeah, for this, it's fun. It's
fun, but in terms
of all this stuff,
in terms of the win,
no, and the style in which you can play against them offensively, I think bodes well. Like there's just too many lapses on Brooklyn's end. You're gonna get downhill again. You're gonna get fouled a ton. I thought you were right, John, that they should have taken a better advantage of that. But overall, I was pleasantly surprised with the defense they played. They're still capable of rotating, switching, holding it down, isolation. Tatum had so many moments in this game, ripping the ball from Brown, blocking Tatum and Irving in the fourth. He was outstanding. A lot of guys are capable defending one-on-one in this series. You're going to have to ride those waves of the Irving stretches, as Sherrod mentioned earlier. But you have what it takes to win this series, Rob or not. And they should. You're going to execute better offensively in coming games, I'd imagine. I think you can still sustain this level of defensive play, and there's layers on top of what they've already done that I think Ime has to throw out there if they need to. So I feel great about this. You're taking on the whole first half, the defense, the closing stretch, and that third quarter where they blew it up. It was a lot of great stuff tonight. I do think, John, you get a hat tip for the reemergence of the Celtics there in the fourth, the old Celtics. It feels like that's always going to kind of be part of it.
I don't want that, but I don't want credit. It's just like I said, I
just didn't expect it. I didn't expect to see that.
I can't unsee it. I can't move past it. And I hate that it's there. I hate
the numbers bear it out. They have serious fourth quarter challenges.
They do, but again, it's like I said, the Rob knocks them down just a peg, kind of brings them back to the pack because they were playing so much better than everybody else. And then in close games in the playoffs, it's that thing. It's like, so I do believe everyone whose argument is the Celtics have been great. Shut up. What have you been watching? Absolutely, they've been great. But I think they're in a prove it sort of mode again, entering the playoffs shorthanded right now. They got to show us that they can do it, that they can play in these competitive games, that they can. So big check mark. I mean, both big demerit for collapsing in the fourth quarter, but a big check mark for pulling it together late.
It would be panic mode on here.
But everyone would be freaking out because everything about it went the way you were worried, and like they did fulfill a lot of your worst, fears about it. So you hope that they kind of put it in the rear view mirror and they don't have another game like that, and maybe that's what they needed to shake it off, have the confidence of the win, and that's not an issue going forward. But again, it's there. So you just want to see them not have that. You want to see, and again, they did it. They played a shit fourth, but they made the plays when it counted. That's all you need. That's how that wins you the game. So I actually, as crappy as I felt watching that fourth quarter, I actually feel a tick better about it, seeing them seeing themselves pull. I've always thought it was going to be a close series.
That's why.
But a tick better just seeing them keep it together and play with such composure late there and make the plays necessary to win and watch the other guys screw up. And again, I keep pointing to friggin' Durant standing there at the free throw line. I can't imagine what the narrative would have been if Tatum fell asleep and Durant just backdoored him, or Brown. People would be losing their minds. That's a horrible mistake, there. So Brooklyn puked all over itself. Late in that game with a bad position. Exactly.
And that's why you love
exactly the stuff you would go bananas if the Celtics did it. A bad dribble, ISO possession by Kyrie the play before, and then falling asleep on defense and giving up a layup to lose it.
Something's very wrong with the Nets, and that's why you want to play
that. Would have crippled you if that happened to you on the Celtics. So horrible breakdown by Brooklyn there, and good that the Celtics came up. Josue?
It's the same. It's the same. And with that being said, I'm gonna say someone from that bench is gonna have a good game in game 2. Maybe it's Grant Williams. Maybe it's Peyton Pritchard. I'm probably gonna go with Grant. I go between Grant and Derek White, but someone needs to come up big for those guys. And I think that's something we can look forward to in game 2. If this thing stretches out to 2-0, that's huge, because obviously the Celtics, you take care of home court, but Celtics fans, don't forget, Brooklyn next to come out here and grab a win. It's a best of 5 series all over again, and you're heading back to Brooklyn. So this was a huge win for the Celtics. I think the pressure of going into a game 2, potentially going down 2-0, would have been enormous for the Celtics team. And maybe they win, but it's just something that they don't want to have right now. And I think when we're talking about, what John was just talking about is mental toughness. I think the Celtics certainly have the edge in the series. It's I wouldn't say it's their series to lose. I wouldn't put it to that extent, but I think the margin of error is thinner than what it looks like, I guess. I think that's what we've learned from game 1. And the Celtics, they passed the test. They passed the late fourth quarter, late game execution. What are you going to do against 2 of the top scorers in there? You're down by 2 possessions, and they passed this one. But it's a series. They're gonna have to continue to do that, continue to win the mind games, I guess. There's war between them and Brooklyn. It carries over to game 2 for sure. They have to carry that on into game 2 and grab that one.
Yep.
I'm not gonna say it's a must win, but they're all must wins. It's the Brooklyn Nets we're talking about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all that stuff is real.
This is Kyrie and Durant we're talking about, I guess I should say.
Yeah, it is what it is. Couple notes again for those guys out there. Make sure you're following Sherrod's stuff over at fullcourtpress.bulletin.com. All of his NBA coverage over there on fullcourtpress.bulletin.com. I'm sure we'll have something about this game as well. But
it's
terrific
up right now, baby.
Oh man, look at you.
Go check it out. Terrific written content as always. Yeah. From one of the GOATs. Yeah. Sherrod. Also, A-List podcast. Make sure you check that out. For Sherrod, Gary Washburn, Kwani Lunis, terrific basketball podcast.
Kwani's going nuts on Twitter.
Dome Theory, Bobby Manning's gig over there. You got to check that out. And of course, if you don't already subscribe, our Celtics specific YouTube channel. A lot of you guys are on our main channel, which is great. Celtics channel as well. All our Celtics content. Josue and Bobby will have some post-game video recaps, and a bunch of press conferences are going to be going up. Make sure you subscribe to that. Subscribe to everything. Yeah, Kyrie, give us likes if you can, please. We love it. Yeah. Like these videos, subscribe, recommend it to friends, pass this stuff alone. Please like us. We want you to like us.
I need to be liked. I very much need that.
Yeah, please like us.
And subscribe to Cedric Maxwell Podcast, Causeway Street Podcast.
Oh yeah,
all of that.
All that good stuff. It's
I got one for Josue's on all the podcasts. Yeah. Josue's on all of that stuff. And also,
slide into Josue's DMs as well. Follow him on Twitter. Slide into DMs.
If you're a college student,
they are very open.
College student, you want an internship? We're taking applications right now for the summer. You can even join for the rest of the Celtics playoff run here. info@clnsmedia.com. Send us your resumes if you're a college student and you want to join the team. We're going to head over to Discord.
It's college summer.
Yeah, we're going to head over to Discord, hang out a little bit.
Last shout out. Tomorrow, Marathon Monday in Boston.
Oh, that's right.
Great day to be in Boston. So good luck to everybody running in the Boston Marathon. Maybe we have a couple viewers that are running tomorrow. So good luck to you if you are. And I'm just so excited that it's back on Patriots Day. It's going to be a good vibe.
It is good stuff.
I may be down there stumbling around. Who knows? You just don't know.
Anyone who wants to say hi to me, I'll be at the mile 16 marker watching.
I think it's safe to say there's some day drinking in Jimmy's future tomorrow.
I'm a finish line guy, so you'll see me like hovering around Newbury, Boylston.
That's always where I would go. I used to live right there. I used to be at Hereford all the time because the turn was so great. Seeing guys come up, from Hereford to Boylston, and they're like, "Oh, I made it!"
The final turn. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great spot.
Back in my EI promotion days, I used to be out there.
Yeah, now I'm in the burbs. Mile 16. You want to come over and say hi? I'll chat with you. We can talk Celtics.
Oh, okay. I might swing by, John.
Mile 16.
A little bit.
Man, this weekend's lit for Boston, man. What a weekend.
It's fun.
Yeah.
This is good stuff.
The playoffs. Red Sox won. Celtics 1-0 in their series, and we get the Boston Marathon. So it's a good weekend and a good week to be a Bostonian. So we'll take it.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks, guys, for hanging out. We are back on was it Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wednesday, 7 p.m.
Wednesday.
I'm off. The rest of these clowns are here, so make sure you join.